We're going to turn our attention to the French newspapers. Elena with us here on set. The final round of the election results, Elena, of course. It's all over the papers, and a bit of a superhero for us you've got, haven't you?
Yes. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Super Francois on the front page of Libération today. Very muscly looking Super Francois there, with the headline, "Can the left beat the crisis?" Now, of course, this is because they've got such a massive majority in the Assemblée Nationale. They can do anything they like. And as Spider-Man said, as a colleague quoted to me yesterday, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
The newspaper says inside that François Hollande will go down in history as the French president who either saved or sank the euro, which is quite a significant responsibility. So there's a solution on the table, of course, this idea of a banking union where Europe's wealthier states would take on part of the responsibility for the debt owned by the banks in Europe's poorer southernmost countries, where the states themselves can't afford to bail the banks out. And there's a problem. Angela Merkel's Germany is quite strongly opposed to this, or Eurobonds, or any idea of mutualising debt, unless it comes with a more broad fiscal and political union. And there's another summit. Of course, there's always another summit. There's one this week and another one bringing all Europe's leaders together on the 28th and 29th of June, where they have to talk about all this. Now, Libération reckon on the inside that, yes, François Hollande can change the course of Europe and have it built around growth instead of what they call the ideological extremism of wanting to cut budgets all the time. But, of course, to do that, he's going to have to raise taxes quite significantly and, they admit, reform France's welfare state.
We're all enjoying that image as well. I think Valerie Trierweiler wishes he looked like this.
Maybe he secretly does. Maybe that's why she's so jealous.
Does. Who knows? All of that, though, it may not go down quite so well for the people who actually voted for him.
No, well, this is the problem. He has raised expectations terribly high with such a left-wing majority. L'Humanité have got a rather smaller and more weedy-looking François Hollande, looking at this enormous pile of files in front of him. Unemployment, health, G20, budget, pensions, Europe, all issues that he's got to tackle. And, of course, they've got very high hopes that now there's a massive left-wing majority, everyone can retire earlier and they can all have higher minimum wages, and there'll be the welfare state will be at least as generous as it always has been since the Second World War here in France. Problem, though, is that there really isn't any money to pay for that.
And what about all these new MPs then who are all taking their seats?
Well, Le Parisien introduces us to some of them in a front cover story which they call Behind the Scenes at the new Assemblée Nationale. Now, they make a great deal of how there's more women and more ethnic minorities in this new Assemblée. There has been progress. France has gone from being the 69th most equal country, in the world when it comes to men and women in Parliament to being the 34th. That's still not fantastically good. There's 155 women out of 577 MPs and only 8 from ethnic minorities compared to 1 in the outgoing Parliament. It's still not fantastic. They're also introducing us to the goodie bag that new MPs get when they enter Parliament. That was what that picture was there. It was a leather suitcase that they get with a sash, a tricolour sash, in case they need to officiate at any state events, and a USB stick with a map of the Parliament on it in case they get lost.
Excellent. It doesn't have toothpaste and some tight socks then. What about the blame game on the right? Is that in the newspapers?
Of course it is. Over at right-wing Le Figaro, they've got the right is looking for a programme and a boss as a headline, and 3 of the top contenders to be the next leader of the right after Nicolas Sarkozy, outgoing Prime Minister François Fillon, current UMP party leader Jean-François Copé, and the outgoing Foreign Minister Alain Juppé, who of course helped found the UMP, along with Jacques Chirac. Now, the editorial in the right-wing paper doesn't actually pick one of those candidates yet, but it says that whoever it is, they really will have to rebuild the UMP from the top after it is risking breaking apart over the issue over whether they went too far to the right or not far enough in these latest parliamentary elections. They say that whoever wins has got to resist the temptation of allowing Marine Le Pen to get everything she wants and allowing her to ideologically annex the UMP, as they put it, i.e., allow her views on race and religious issues especially to contaminate the whole of what was the mainstream right. Alain Juppé, one of those contenders, is interviewed by today's Monde newspaper. He defends the party's strategy of telling voters not to vote for either the Socialists or the Front National in contests where those two parties faced one another. That was widely criticised. A number of senior UMP politicians said yesterday that they regretted doing that. But he says that the threat of the Front National is a real one, and clearly the UMP has a problem, he says, when some of its MPs seem to think they have common values with the Front National, something a number of UMP candidates said in the run-up to those parliamentary elections. So he agrees that the party really needs to rebuild itself from scratch.
The next political battles to be fought here in France. Elena, thanks so much with the French newspapers here on France 24.